Welcome to Conquering Mount Scrapmore with Brenda. I'm Brenda, and today we're going to be trimming the coffee quilt and measuring. And I'll show you how we do the measuring on this coffee quilt, right? But mostly we're going to try and concentrate on the trimming. Okay, so this has been quite the adventure. My girlfriend Marilyn sent me on here with the fabric beautiful fabric I got from Nancy's Notions. She sent me. It was I can't remember the last time I even made something for myself, and yes, I'm really excited about this because this quilt is going to be mine. So come a little closer. I can't wait to show you how we're going to trim this quilt up. Okay, so we're here at the cutting table and we're going to cut this on the corner first. We're going to start with the corner first to square it up. Now, what quilting does sometimes is shrink up your blocks, right? Because the more you quilt, the smaller the blocks get. So what happens is, with this was a 6.5-inch piano key. Now, if yours is different, you have to adjust your measurements as follows. So what's going to happen is we're going to have a line here and a line going this way, right? So what we're going to try and do is make this corner look as square as possible. Now you see here we're missing some fabric. So basically we can kind of tug at this a bit from the back and kind of play around and just you're aiming for square, but if you can only get true, a true piece, that's what you do. Now some of this, now if you see right here, this is going to be within the seam allowance. So this is okay if you're missing a little bit of fabric there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my klutz glove on, and I'm just going to take my first cut down through here and up along this as far as it'll go. And I'm going to start here. Okay. So now that I've got the corner square, and like I say, you see there's just a little bit of fabric missing from this corner, but that's okay because it's going to be in the seam allowance of the binding. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to move my ruler out of the way, and I have a 6.5-inch ruler. So we're going to shuffle this down a bit, and we're going to start cutting the next piece. Now what the big trick too is to make it as smooth as possible, right? So before you put the ruler on it. So now, because this is 6.5, I can kind of line up my 1/2-inch line and get something that's going to read straight along this line here, but then also read straight along the part we want to cut off. So, and here we go. So you just kind of want to give a reference line. And this is the quickest way to do a reference line, is to use a border line inside a quilt. If you had, let's say, a little 2-inch strip of fabric or a 2.5-inch strip along the outside of your quilt, and that was your border, well then, that's what you would use, right? But see, we've got this perfectly cute little seam, so we just line it up again, and we almost get to within 15 inches of the border, which we are. And this then, oops, there we go. And now we're back at the next corner. So here we get our quarter ruler again, and we just smooth this out the best we can. And we're putting this down, and I like putting it down like this. So I want to get a 6-inch line running here and a 6-inch line running here. So you see where your colors are, and you see where the 6-inch line is, right? So now we're going to use this, and I'm just going to pull that over just to square it up just a bit. Now this goes down, And excuse my reach in front of you. And goes like this, and now we start our next. This goes like that, and now we start our next bit to go up the other side. So this, see, again, we have just a little bit of fabric, that top fabric that's missing, but it's all within that 1/4 inch of the seam allowance. So we're good. It'll be covered up by the binding. So let me get this finished and I'll show you how to join up both of the ends. Okay, all right, now we've gone all the way around the quilt and we're going to join up our 2 cuts. Now, you still want to have that 6.5 where the half line runs right on that line. And if you have to pull or, you know, fudge a little bit, kind of move it in place, this is the time to do it. Now, what we're going to do, and we're just going to then crawl up there. And we're now fully trimmed. Next, we're going to measure. And this will give us how many strips we're going to need for the binding. Okay, now we have a yardstick or a meter stick. And what we're going to do is I have folded this into 4, right? So I've got, you know, 4 pieces. Like I folded it so it's 1/4. Now, because this quilt is not being entered into a quilt show, right? This is how I measure in a very small space. Is I put four pieces together, right? So I folded it twice. And now I'm just going to measure from the very far side. And, oh, you're still not in shot. Oh wow, this is a long quilt. Okay, so you can see here. Now I'm just going to take about 1/4 inch extra to accommodate the fold of the cloth or the fold of the quilt. So then I pull it back and I'm measuring now. So we're looking at almost 36 inches, but it's doubled, right? It's already been doubled, so that means it would be 72. So what we're going to do is say, okay, this is 72 here right at the edge. And then how big is it here? I'm going to take 1/4 inch, and it's about 72, and then just another random place, and near the coffee pot. And there, we're getting a little shy, right, of the 36 or 72, right? Because I'm got 1/4 inch on the other side there to accommodate the fold, but this is a little short. So that means that the quilt has bowed, probably because of the quilting. But it's going to look square, right? Because it's been trued up along a design line, right? So when you measure the other way, go the other way where you have, you know, your 1/4 inch. Okay, just let me get this. You see, you start here and you give it 1/4 inch just to accommodate the fold of the cloth, right? So now we push it all the way down and we're still looking at about 36, maybe a little bit more, because there's stuff hanging out the bottom. There's stuff hanging out the bottom. So that's right pretty much on the edge. Let's take another measurement. Giving that 1/4 inch allowance here. Yeah, we're in the 35.5 to 36, 35 3/4 mark, right? And then this is right here, right? I got 1/4. Okay, here again, when we're looking more at, okay, let's go here a little bit. Yeah, we're definitely at 35 3/4. But the average size of this quilt is 36 times 2, which is 72 long by 72 wide. And when we start doing our strip calculations for our binding, because this is what we're doing next, is binding this quilt, we'll be doing a 72 by 72 binding on this quilt, because that's about the average what this is. This is a utility quilt. This is going to end up on my couch. My grandchildren and I are going to be snuggling under it and watching TV and cartoons and reading stories, and There's going to be a couch fort and all the rest of this stuff. So this quilt is meant to be played with and loved and used every day. So this is where I'm going to call it 72 by 72. If you have not added the piano keyboarder, or the piano keyboarder is shorter because you didn't have as many scraps, this measurement is going to change. And that's okay, it's your quilt. You could make a design choice, right? So we're going to do this on the next video, is to bind the quilt, and then we're going to put it into use, okay? Okay, so we've got our entire quilt all trimmed up now, ready for binding, ready to go. I am just so excited about this. This has got the cutest, can't remember if I showed you the back of this quilt or not. This is a great way of using up extra bits and bobs. I put a racing stripe through the back of the quilt of all the fabric that was in the quilt front. I don't know if you can see it all. And it kind of helps you use up all those little bits and bobs. You know, it's a really great way of making what they call it, an after quilt, or the quilt from behind, or whatever. I just love this. I can't wait for my grandchildren to see this bright, happy quilt, and it's going to be just fabulous. I wish we had a coffee pot the size of the coffee pot on the quilt, but my husband keeps shaking his head no. So, because I just love coffee. So there's the big coffee pot center again, all quilted out. Oh, yeah, this is a beautiful, we're gonna call it a 72 square. So this will be a cute, great napping blanket too. Not that I get the chance to nap very often in this house, but I mean, this is going to be just lovely. So whatever happens to you today, I hope you have a wonderful day ahead. I am looking forward to the next installment of this. It's going to be our binding tutorial. And I'm going to bind it with a flange binding because I just love flange binding. It'll give me the last little opportunity to add some bright, beautiful color in here and to use up more fabric that was actually used in this quilt. So I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope everything goes well for you. And I just want to thank you. My husband and I are so happy that our little channel has grown so quickly. And it's kind of neat chatting with you. So if you have comments, let us know what you think about this quilt. Let us know about the quilt that's on the exit video that comes right after this goodbye. Because it's the one that's behind me in the exit video. If you want to do a sew along with that quilt or a variation on that quilt, let us know. For hand piecers, it's the beginner quilt. For people that use a sewing machine, it's an intermediate quilt, which I know sounds really strange, but there's so many Y seams in that quilt. And for hand sewing, Y seams are nothing. It's just, yeah, so it's a Y seam. And you know, but for machine sewists, I mean, you've got to do other little things on it. So let us know. I can hardly wait to see you next week. I hope you have a great week. Bye! If you have questions about what you saw on this video, or you have ideas for content or something you want to see us do, please put those comments in the description below. But also, while you're there, like, share, and subscribe with your friends. That would really help us out. Okay, I want to thank you and have a great day.